Political trauma and politics is show business for ugly people. Michael McLean, NoBullBook.com, coming to you from the end of the dock at Audie Lake on an absolutely gorgeous Friday morning. Krista, Emery, myself, and Clifford are home sweet home in Canada. We arrived on June 1st. We flew out of Naples at noon on Wednesday, and we've been getting settled for the last couple days. One of the things that was waiting for us when we arrived home on Wednesday evening, Thursday of this week, June 2nd, was our provincial election. And I have never, as I told my daughter Emery on the way to the polls yesterday, I have never ever missed a vote in my life, in my adult life. And this includes even way back in high school when there would be student council votes, every federal election, voting for our town council, our mayor, prime minister, premier, you name it. And my mom and dad especially have always instilled that principle of exercising your right and freedom to vote. And that's always been a really, really big deal for me. So yesterday's election, I purposely took Emery with me just before dinner time. And we went into the town and we actually voted at the local Lions Club. And I've always taken Emery with me. She's 9 years old, so she's had a handful of votes in her life. But I'm one of the only parents that has always taken her to the polls. And I want her to see what it's all about. I want her to personally see what freedom of choice, and exactly what exercising your right to vote is all about. On the drive in yesterday, we're only 6 or 7 minutes from town, I just talked to her about all the sacrifices that have been made in the past so that Canadians can vote for the person of their choice. And I think it's really important now as parents, especially with young children and teenagers, that we share and continue to communicate the importance of exercising our hard-earned freedom to vote. It is so easy now with today's political climate. Our politicians and so-called leaders have done such a poor job of being authentic and candid and consistent that a lot of Americans and Canadians have lost confidence. They've lost any interest, any passion for politics. But what I'm emphasizing to my daughter Emery is not for her to have an interest in politics. I want her to, stay out of that swamp of negativity. Politics is show business for ugly people. But I do want her to eventually become an informed voter. And that's what I pride myself on being, is an informed voter. I actually don't follow. I used to be a political junkie and I used to follow politics all the time. But that did not make me an informed voter. In fact, it did exactly the opposite. I was with the mediocre majority, the 99%, and I was getting my information from the bought and paid TVs, Main Street News, online, offline. Today, I do the exact opposite, and I don't participate in any Main Street media, whether it's politics, even if it's sports. I don't read the news. I don't participate in social media, and I don't waste time with those bought and paid for medias. I get my information from like one or two sources that I know are accurate thinking sources. And then as an independent badass millionaire, I think independently and I make my choice. And in politics today, it's like we're almost picking the lesser of several evils. And that's what we did yesterday when Emery and I went in. It was amazing because she was able to participate in the entire process. So we walked into the Lions Club and she went through the entire process with me. The people there were kind enough to allow her to, she went in the polling booth with me. I showed my driver's license, and she actually went in the polling booth with me and watched me, who I voted for and why. And then I handed over my card, which was electronically tabulated for the first time. And I was the 745th person to vote at the Lions Club yesterday at that time. So really, really cool procedure that my daughter was able to see. And we'll do this, God willing, several more times before she's at the age of 18 where she can exercise her right to vote for who she chooses. Difficult nowadays because the politicians have lost, rightfully so much respect. A lot of people have just checked out and say, why would I bother voting? These people are not, they're not for my best interest. They're not making any difference in my life. And I really think that's an incredible slippery slope that we have to fight every day with our children and our grandchildren, that no matter what, no matter how, dysfunctional politics has become, no matter how entitled people have become, we need to communicate to our young people and set the example ourselves that, oh my God, it's so critical that you never ever miss an opportunity to vote. As my grandfather said, you can't bitch and chew if you didn't vote. And a lot of the people that do a lot of the bitching and chewing in North America are people that choose not to cast their ballot. So these are the things I discussed with Emery on the ride in yesterday. How we take freedom for granted in places like Canada and the United States. But in some countries, men and women are not allowed to vote. In some countries, women aren't allowed to vote. There was a time in Canada and the United States when certain people weren't allowed to vote, where women weren't allowed to vote, and all this kind of stuff, this history that our children need to know about. And I told her that no matter what, she has to always exercise that power of choice in her world. And then, at least you've done your part for democracy. And I know all the political stuff. I know that, the last 4 years here, we just re-elected, by the way, Doug Ford's government here in Ontario. So we just rewarded a government with a majority. This is a progressive conservative government. So, you would think similar to the Republican Party in the United States. So you think that I would be standing here, a happy man, a majority government, pro-business, small conservative, small government. But unfortunately in Canada and in Ontario, it's the same in the United States and several states. Conservative doesn't mean conservative anymore. Basically, we've re-elected a conservative party that used to be back in the day when Ontario was an economic powerhouse. We're a has-been. We're bankrupt. We're broke as a province. Our province is in disarray. If it was a business, our doors would be closed. Everything from our education system to our medical system to our roads to our treatment of small businesses, you name it, and we're a bankrupt business. We're a broke business. We're kept open by printing free money and all this other entitlement stuff. So we just rewarded our conservative government the last 4 years, including a 2.5 year China virus lockdown. My small business, my barbershop business, which is a prime example of what the small business owner in certain states and all across Canada has gone through over the last 2.5 years. If I didn't own Father and Sons barbershop on our main street in Perth, I would have closed it a year ago. And it's just been an example of how the small business owner and entrepreneur in Canada and the United States has been attacked, especially over the last 2 to 3 years. My barbershop, up until a few days ago, they've done everything to destroy small business in Ontario. I've been closed at least 4 different occasions. We weren't able to, sell beer or serve liquor, which is our money maker. We weren't able to have more than 2 people in the shop. I had to lay off 50% of my barbers. And by the way, those people will never ever work again. They've been sitting at home for the last 2.5 years, getting $2,000 per month. When I tried to hire them back a year and a half ago, both of them said, no, they work under the table, they do barber shop, they do haircuts in their garage at home, and they get $2,000 of disguised welfare every single month. My best 2 barbers have worked endlessly through this entire process. I was looking at some stats yesterday about the small business closures in Canada since March 2020, since the restrictions and the lockdowns began, and we're somewhere in the 300,000 range for small businesses. Businesses that drive the economy: restaurants, retail shops, barber shops, clothing stores, bars, pool halls, you name it. Over 300,000 small businesses in Canada have closed since this all began 2.5 years ago. And as an electorate, we turn around and we reward our premier, Doug Ford, and his party with a majority 4-year term. He actually won more seats. He's more popular than ever. And this goes back to what my grandfather used to say, that elections aren't won, they're bought. And to win in Ontario, you need to have the support of the unions. You need to win the city of Toronto. The greater Toronto area is 11 million plus in population. It's the 5th largest city in North America. So you have your Los Angeles, your New York, your Chicagos. But in our country, you actually have Toronto, which, when you take in account the GTA, the greater Toronto area, over 11 million people. So almost a third of our entire population in Canada is in the surrounding Toronto area. So to win any election, whether it's prime minister or premier, you need to win Toronto. And Doug Ford was able to do this by running a socialist, soft communist party for the last 4 years. Somebody who's receiving $2,000 a month not to work for the last 2 years, and then they qualify when that runs out for unemployment insurance, they're certainly going to be re-electing that government. So even though it's a conservative victory, it's far, far removed from a conservative government. As a small business owner, I've just watched how my little barber shop has been attacked at every corner, closed down 4 times. It's incredible. Like, when this first happened, they had us turn over the furniture. They had us we could only have 2 people. Our barbers looked like Michelin people with the visors and masks and scaring people to death. And like I said, if I didn't run this barbershop, if I didn't own it and I wasn't in a safe harbor position, I would have just closed this business a year or 2 ago. I wouldn't have bothered, but I've kept it open for my 2 outstanding employees. But regardless of all this, I emphasize to my daughter, Emery, that's no excuse. Even though I didn't have somebody that I wanted to vote for, of course, I did vote for the party that I said does the least amount of damage to small business. Like, small business drives your economy in the United States and in Canada. So I voted for the party that does the least amount of damage, because there's no pro-business parties anymore. There's no more pro-business Democrats or Republicans or liberals or conservatives. There's no more small government north or south of the border. Everything is spend, spend, spend. Everything is debt, debt, debt. And so, it's no excuse not to cast your vote. Our men and women in uniform over the last century have sacrificed their lives. In some cases, the ultimate sacrifice. Men and women in uniform plus their families, that we owe it. It's our obligation to cast a ballot every time we're given that privilege, and to teach that to our children. So this is what I emphasize to Emery, is sometimes there's going to be situations where you don't know who to vote for, where you have to do your research and vote for, the best of the worst is what I call it. So that's what I did yesterday as a businessman and as a father and a community guy, is I voted for the business, the candidate is doing the least damage to small business. And like I said, there's no fiscal conservatives anymore in Canada. There's no pro-business parties in Canada. There are some fringe parties, but they don't elect a single person in our country. So that is actually throwing your vote away. But I included a video yesterday that, and I included in the PS here, from Stanley Cup champion and Olympic gold medalist, NHL legend, Theo Fleury. It's in the PS here below, and I encourage you to watch that. Theo is a really smart and sharp, badass guy. And what I love about Fleury is he's not only an athletic champion, but he's also dedicated. Theo Fleury has dedicated the last 15 years of his life to helping people in this country and south of the border with mental health and severe addiction problems. So this is a guy that's been on the front lines for a decade and a half, helping people that are, suicidal, drug issues, alcohol issues, mental health, you name it. And he appeared the other night on Tucker Carlson, and I included the short interview in the PS below. But give that a watch. And it was interesting, the term that Theo used was government trauma. Government trauma, chaos created on purpose. And of course, there's a guy that can back it up in terms of the increase in mental health issues, the increases in our children and teenage suicides, drug abuse, you name it. And just an interesting perspective from a badass guy who's actually in the real world. And just something to think about. So basically, that's it for today. I just wanted to emphasize how important it is for us to include our children in what we're doing. And I think that was a great experience for Emery yesterday. No matter what, I'm always going to continue to vote and exercise what has been hard-earned for me. I didn't have to do anything in my life to earn that right, but it's certainly my privilege and personal obligation to exercise my vote every single time. And as a business owner, before I go here, just to show you what you can do, you may think, well, I don't have a say and there's nothing I can do. But look what we've done in the last 6 months here. My wife, Krista, and I, we weren't happy with the environment that we were in here, 4 or 5 months ago, with the schools closing again after Christmas and the rinks closing and the swimming pools closing and my barber shop having to close. So we're not a tree. We moved, and we literally sacked up in 21 days. And as you know, we rented a home in Naples, Florida. I moved my 3 companies in 21 days, the laptop lifestyle. My wife is on the board of directors for the school and some other charities. She moved all of that to South Florida, and we literally registered our daughter in school within a few days, and we flew down to Naples for February 1st, and we've been there the last 4 months. That's called this is what I call voting with your wallet and your feet. In other words, I'm in the situation now where my consulting company, Badass Millionaire Brotherhood, my consulting with elite businessmen, I'm in the process now of moving that business to Florida. In other words, my consulting business will be out of the United States. And I'm also in the process, and it'll take some time, of acquiring a green card so that we can live part-time at least in Florida. And these are the things that I'm doing as an entrepreneur and businessman to punish the bureaucracy, the politics, the anti-business thinking that I'm here in Ontario. I mean, the small business owner in Ontario is taxed to death, red tape, litigation. There's hardly anything that they can do. They can barely eke out a living. So I've tired of the anti-business climate in here where we're the evil people in the community. And as you know, like most of the small business owners that I work with, they're not rich, they're not millionaires. They're men and women who have an idea and a solution, and they're working like 60, 70, 80 hours a week just to keep their doors open. So that's who I'm pro for. That's who I support. But money is a funny thing, and I believe 100% with every fiber of my body in wealth attraction. Your relationship with money is everything. And money, I don't care whether you believe it or not, money goes, it flows to where it's appreciated and respected. And you can see this in the United States with money. Money is rushing out of places like New York, New Jersey, California. And where is money flowing to? Where is money flowing to that it's appreciated and respected? States like Montana, Alabama, Florida. Like money goes where it's respected and where it's appreciated. And you can see this the same in Ontario where we are, is money has been flowing out of this province for at least 15 years. And you can see it in investments. There's no new companies coming here. You'd be crazy to start something up here. You would be crazy to start a small business. And because of that, our economic growth, it's like the best way to explain it, the analogy I would give you is glue, putting glue in your gas tank. That's what the government has done for small business in Ontario and across the country. Trudeau has put glue in the gas tank of small business. And Ford and his cronies have put glue in the fuel tank of small business in Ontario. So we all have to rise above this. Like my dad said, if you want to help people, he said, Michael, he says, get the whole idea of being involved in the toxicity of politics out of your mind. Because I've always toyed with the idea of like, maybe I'd like to run for town council or mayor or something like this. And my dad has always said to me, he said, if you want to make a difference in this world and in your community, son, he said, start up a small business or grow your business or hire people, pay taxes, support T-ball, support, the food bank, support the animal shelter, children's literacy, you name it. But that's how you can help somebody as an entrepreneur. And we all know that entrepreneurs and dreamers and visionaries and risk takers, the riverboat gamblers, they're the people, you're the people that drive these countries. And that's the reason that Canada and the United States are the top two countries in the world. As much as going on politically, we have to focus on our blessings, that it doesn't matter about those so-called leaders. They can put as much glue in there in the gas tank as they want. A guy like you is still going to find a way to win. And sure, maybe, money and everything, we have to vote with our wallets and our feet, and sometimes we have to move, and we're willing to do that. But at the end of the day, you're made of steel. I mean, you're mentally tough, and you're going to overcome that anyway. And that's why it's so critical that we show that example to our children, that no matter what, it doesn't matter to my business. Like, it has an effect, but it's not going to stop me who's in the White House. It's not going to stop me who's the Prime Minister of Canada. The election result yesterday, it's not even on my mind after today. What's on my mind is scaling my business, improving my barber shop, walking, writing, controlling the controllables. That's what we say in the McLean household, controlling the controllables. So after I exercise my right to vote, then after that, I control the controllables. I don't have any control over Doug Ford or Justin Trudeau or Joe Biden or any of these guys. After that, I get down to business and control the controllable, which is, becoming the best version of Michael McLean every single day. And what these guys, when they put glue in our gas tanks, I look at it as an adversity and a challenge to overcome. I look at that as fuel, to win in spite of that adversity, to win in spite of those roadblocks. And again, that's something I talked to my daughter about yesterday. So, but at the end of the day, we can move. We can move to more pro-business places, pro-freedom, pro-self-reliance, pro-self-responsibility. And that's why our family decided to not only move to Naples for a while, but where did we spend our money buying a home? We spent our money buying a home recently in Naples that we'll return to. Where did I spend money putting my daughter in school? Naples in Florida. Where did we spend tens of thousands of dollars, on restaurants and tennis lessons and vacation, trips around? We spent all of that money in Southwest Florida over the last 4 months, and we'll continue to spend money in Florida as long as that place is pro-business, pro-freedom, pro-self-reliance. And the day that they want to, put glue in the gas tank, it's just going to be a day that it's time to move somewhere else where money will move as well. So those are my thoughts, my biased thoughts, but very important that we teach our children at the end of the day, you still exercise that right that's been hard-earned through our many men and women who sacrificed the ultimate, and that you always, always, always exercise your right to vote as a man or a woman, as a Canadian or as an American. That's it. If you haven't got a copy of my book, you can do so at nobullbook.com. That link is below. It's my brand new book, How to Not Get Your Ass Kicked in Business and in Life. It's my 25 rules for helping you live life and do business on your own terms. And that's what I've been doing for the last 19 years, living life and doing business on my own terms. If I'm not out at the lake here working or sitting on my boat, then we're in Florida doing our thing there. So it's about freedom, it's about reliance, it's about your own terms, and that's what that book will help you do. It's $19.95, it's pocket change for a badass millionaire, and I will FedEx that to your home or your business. Also, if you're interested in one-on-one coaching with me, you can apply at badassmillionaire.com/apply. That's for my badass 8-week sprint world building, where I help you actually build a brand new marriage, marketing, business, relationship with your children, your physical and mental health, and I help you build a legacy as well. So you can apply for that as well below. That's it for today from Audie Lake. I am taking Emery today. We're heading out to my parents for a swim. That's one thing about being in Naples, is we haven't seen my mom and dad for 4 months. And my mom and dad are 88 and they're doing very well, but we miss them a great deal. So we're going to go out there today and have a swim. And knowing my mom and dad, they love politics. We're gonna chew the fat over what happened yesterday. And my mom used to work at the polls when she used to volunteer up until the last couple elections. She would actually work at the polls, and so did my grandmother. So that part of volunteering and being involved in voting and being involved in having a say, that's in my blood, and I totally believe in that. where you send a message to your children that freedom is important. Freedom of choice is important, regardless of what that choice is. And everybody has the right to their own personal independent thinking. That's it. NoBullBook.com. I'll talk to you guys again tomorrow. I think this is like 100, and I'm closing in on 180 straight daily videos. I didn't miss one moving here from Naples, so we still got great momentum. And I'm going to go out to my parents now, and I will look forward to talking to you again tomorrow. Watch that Theo Fleury video below. The guy's a badass champion, cleaner, closer, you name it. That's it. 2 words that changed my life and 2 words that'll change your life. Be relentless.